Hi, everybody. This is Mark Fisher, and I'm with my co-host.
Janis Grady. Good day, everybody.
That's
Hope you
right.
all
We want
had
to go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
hope everyone had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I had lots of friends over here, and I still have to finish putting everything away. I've been lazy because it's damn cold.
It is. It is. Let me bring in our other our guest, and also we're streaming on his channel too, and that's Sterling Tompkins. Hey, Sterling, how you doing?
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Doing great. Doing great. It's good to see you.
Good to see you guys too. I hope you had a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we did actually. We went over to Janis's, and she cooked her famous bacon wrapped turkey,
Oof.
which really funny. I put a video. I did a little short video of Janis taking the turkey and the bacon off of it. It's only like 13 seconds long. I posted it on our channel as a short. It got like almost 3,000 views, like within less than 24 hours. And then I did another short video of my mother the day before we went. I took her out. She's 93 years old for Thanksgiving dinner. And I did a video just showing the turkey and then showing my mom, 10, 13 seconds. I put it up on my other channel. It got like 2,000 views in like 2 hours. But I just checked it today. It's had over 8,000 views.
Guys, people love good news and families being together and celebrating success, especially after leaving a cult. I from day one, I've thought that's a wonderful part that we all need to share, you know, and
Yeah.
so I'm glad that's awesome. That's amazing.
How was your Thanksgiving, Sterling?
You know, my mom was so thrilled that she had us down there, Justin and I, to celebrate Thanksgiving with her. And she was so happy, even though she was slaving away in the kitchen all day. And it was pretty funny because she spent all this time making this masterful, beautiful meal. And then we went outside and it was freezing cold. And she was not. And she was like, no, I'm not cold at all. She wasn't even wearing a sweater. And meanwhile, the rest of us are like, but go.
I watched a video with your mom.
Yeah.
I watched you lazing on the couch while your mom was slaving in the kitchen.
It was actually pretty funny because she'd actually finished the majority of the work, and that period, the first 30 minutes of that video, she was just putzing around, if you'd noticed, and laughing. She was mic'd up, so every time I would say something, you could hear her giggle in the background. You know what? It was so much fun to do with her. That was all.
I miss that video. Is it just a regular video or a short, or what is it? Because I'll watch it.
No, it's a live. I just did a live from my mom's kitchen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was just super fun. I mean, again, we didn't even talk. We said, okay, let's just start doing it. You do your thing, I'll do mine, and then she would pop in from time to time and doing her cooking, and it was so sweet. And her kitchen looks like a movie set.
I love her kitchen.
Oh, it was just
wow.
the lights coming
in.
Yeah, I didn't have to light anything. There was not a single light anywhere in the house. It was all natural lighting. It looked pretty good. It was fun.
She built that house, right? Didn't she build it?
She did.
And did she decorate it too? She's got excellent taste, right?
Impeccable taste. And she did not pass that down. Maybe she passed it down to Jenna. Actually, I think she did. Jenna does have really good taste too. She did not pass it down to Justin. And maybe I got a little bit, but not that much. So.
That's great. Well, it's cold here. Excuse me, I'm not wearing a Hawaiian shirt. I'm wearing my Good Day Mates hoodie that's on our merchandise site. On the back, it has our logo, our Scientology Stories Peeling the Onion, because it's 47 degrees here in Las Vegas at almost 9:30. And I have a husky, Misha, and right over here is the door to my patio, and she likes to be out there. She's in husky heaven right now because it's nice and cool for her, and she'll sleep out there and play around and all that. So anyway, it's too cold for me, so I'm wearing my
it's a warm summer day for her. Right? Warm summer day.
Yeah.
Exactly. Well, we want to welcome everybody that's in here. We're streaming on both our channels, on our Scientology Stories Peeling the Onion and on Sterling Tompkins' channel. So you can watch us on either one of the channels, or you can watch us on both. If you've got two windows, go ahead and click it on both, and we'll both get the views and that type of thing. The chat is a combined chat, so you can chat in there. If you want to ask a question, please write the word question. It makes it easy for us to star, and we will get to the questions afterwards. And of course, if you want a super sticker, super chat, we always accept that. That's not a problem at all. But I wanted to we're ready to get started on the subject that we were going to talk about.
Absolutely.
And,
I didn't put a
Yeah.
title in this, so everyone's probably just wondering what this video is going to be about.
yeah. Janice said that you guys, Janet, because you both grew up with Scientology parents, so she wanted to, make the subject. What it's like growing up with Scientology parents? What are the pitfalls? What happens and all that. So that's what we decided we would talk about.
Well, I'm second generation old school, and you're third generation mid school.
Right. No, and I think part of the reason why we want to talk about this, because when speaking with Reese, relatable Reese, I was shocked to find out how much Scientology was shoved down her throat, whereas and that there is a factor of how much time your parents do spend with you. Of course, my parents didn't spend as much time with me as hers did, but I did spend quite a bit of time. And you, Mark and Janis, you knew Barbara Tompkins, who raised.
Yes.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And she was a wonderful mom. There's no question about that. She's a good person. I'll never say any otherwise, even considering our current circumstances. But I was like, what? And so this is I think it's a great comparison. I mean, Janis I can't wait to hear, because we've never really spoken about this, but when I was growing up, man, Foster, Barbara, they never shoved Scientology down my throat. The only thing they ever demanded I do was a contact assist. There was no exchange. There was no conditions. There was no, you're a bank. Barbara would sit down and have good conversations with me when I was upset about stuff. And, arguably I was more of an asshat sometimes, because I had a pretty big temper. And I'll admit to some of those things. I'll talk about them today, because you guys, I've been smacked twice by my mom, Barbara, but deservedly so on both, I have to say. And I'll tell you why. But again, I don't sit there thinking she smacked me, I'm upset at her. I was like, you know what? I had a big mouth and I probably crossed the line. But some people may disagree. But anyways, please, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, well, I grew up in a mission. We had a house. Well, it started off actually where they were doing Scientology before I was even born. Okay. So they moved to Sydney from Brisbane to do more Scientology and do training. And then Dad couldn't support a family of two, because my sister was born just before they moved. And then my mom was pregnant with me. So he purchased a business in a little town called Euroa. And they continued their Scientology and were like, hey, let's start a little group. And so in the evenings, my dad would do lectures. And then finally, Hubbard came to Melbourne, and my parents went to the Melbourne Congress. And then they decided, let's move to Melbourne where we can do more Scientology. And we had a big house, and they ran their mission out of the house.
Oh, wow.
So okay. I would come home from school, as I got older, would come home from school, and I'd go in and see Rosemary Delderfield, who was our secretary, our receptionist.
Ken Delderfield's mom?
His wife, his first wife.
Okay.
Rosemary and Ken were in Melbourne with us.
Did not know that. Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Anyway, so Rosemary was the receptionist, and I would go and help her and put her paper clips in order. And, we had a living room, and then we had 2 bedrooms, and then the other side we had this huge room, which was a course room.
Right.
So I'd come home, and there's these people in there telling ashtrays to stand up and ashtrays to sit down. and it was just a normal kind of life to see these people stand up in that chair. Thank you. Sit down in that chair. Thank you.
Can you imagine? But if it's normalized for you, right? It's not. I mean, any other person would start running out thinking they were in a horror film.
Exactly.
Yeah, it was normalized for you from the very get-go. And again, I'm not always take this stance. Everyone thinks we must say all things Scientology are horrible. That's not true. There's parts of Scientology that are very basic, that are borrowed from other religions and other practices that are just easygoing type processes and things that could help on a lower level. Scientology gets crazy when it gets to the top. And then the abusive practices that do happen in an auditing session, mostly sec checks and interrogations, but parts of Scientology do work. Otherwise, it wouldn't have lasted this long. It couldn't have lasted this long.
Yeah.
not to defend it, not to defend David Miscavige or any of the people that are running it and practicing disconnection and those things. But, you know, funny enough, you growing up in that scenario is very interesting because, you know, like I would have never seen something like that, but your house was a mission. That's insane. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But even so, I mean, my mother would practice on us. Sex checks weren't a big thing in those days. It was more like doing the basic, you know, look at that wall, thank you. Walk over that wall, thank you. Touch that wall, you know, or book and bottle, just different processes.
Yes.
And mom used to drill on us kids before she'd take a PC in session.
Oh, wow.
So that she would remember the commands. And then, you know, you'd come home and you want to go to your room and you can't because there's an in session sign on the door of your bedroom.
That's so good. Oh, I would have been so upset about that. Yeah. But we're talking talk therapy. The beginning of Scientology is a lot of talk therapy. And you know, I believe in, if you have a good person across from you listening to you, that's going to be therapeutic at some point. Again, like sex checks. Man, I didn't even know it existed until I was 19 or 20 when I was at the Gold Base. So no part of my Scientology experience growing up included anything about that.
Right.
Not once.
Well, there were sex checks being done, you know, but not as heavy as they were after I left.
Right.
And I remember the Melbourne ban when Scientology was banned in Victoria, the inquiry that did, you know, the whole investigation, one of their problems with Scientology was the sex checks and the information that came up in the sex checks. Their problem was that this is blackmail material. So Scientology can blackmail all these people who have had these sex checks and given off confessionals.
Right.
And that was one of the reasons behind banning Scientology in Victoria, Australia.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
well, and let me ask you this then, since you're on the subject, did your mom at any, okay, so what, as a child, what part of Scientology do you remember you having to do the most of? And we're talking about in the younger years, but you went to the Apollo when you were how old? 10?
11.
Okay.
Yeah.
You were still really young. Wow. You were really young. 11, you still look like a baby, essentially. Like
you are still a baby.
I have that picture I pulled of me and Simo PAC, Commoner's Messenger Organization PAC, and I could not believe how small I was. I remember myself being maybe mid-teens, but when I saw the picture, I was like, what? I mean,
How old were you then? Storm?
I was about 10 or 11, I think, maybe 11.
Okay, so that's when Janis went off.
Yeah, but I just didn't. But it didn't occur to me how small I actually was.
Right.
You know, because you know, you can see some 10-year. I imagine Janis, your son at 10 probably was a bigger kid, or at least bigger than me for sure. No, I looked like a baby. I really did still look like, but I'm baby faced anyways. Wow, that's crazy. So what, if you don't mind me asking?
No, go ahead.
What's the? Because I would love to get into this. Like even when I was a kid getting into trouble, I got kicked out of public school once. I got kicked out of Mace Kingsley and Delphi, but my parents never said sit down and write your overts and withholds up.
Right.
Which is the process where you have someone write down their whatever transgressions they have. They never made me do conditions. They weren't like that. They would just sit down and talk to me.
Right.
And redirect my attention to like baseball or sports, whatever they could, you know?
Yeah. Mine were different. They would talk to us, but like if I got a cold, my mom would use Scientology on me and ask me, what did I lose?
Interesting.
Because Hubbard had always said a cold is because you lost something. So my mom's like, well, what did you lose? And so then I'd have to list and come up with all these stupid ideas just to kind of get out of having to say what I lost. I didn't know I lost anything. I have a cold.
Right.
But she would always say I had to have lost something in order to have a cold.
And now let me ask you this. When you listed these lost things, was there a chance you would get any of them back because you listed them, or was it just going through the theory?
I would just sometimes dream things up just to answer the question, you know. And it's just like when my brother would push me or my sister would, you know, whatever, I'd go to mom and I'd say, oh, Peter hit me. And she'd go, well, what did you do to him? And I'm like, I did nothing.
That's typical. That's typical. So how about you, Sterling? Did your parents do anything like that with you?
Oh no. Oh, absolutely not. Because Justin and I would hit each other all the time, and there was just no way. They knew Scientology couldn't fix that problem. We were highly competitive twin brothers. There was no fixing that problem. No amount of auditing, no amount of, and I think all of our transgressions were out on the table. I would smack Justin, or he would do something to me, and there was no reason to write it up because everyone saw it.
So now your parents really didn't apply Scientology to you then as you were growing up?
No, they did not.
Did the nursery or the cadet org?
All I remember, well, okay, so the cadet org and the nursery, cadet org specifically, I've spoken about this before. There was spankings, and I would qualify, even though spankings in my generation are very, very common. They're not uncommon. That's not a Scientology thing per se. What is a Scientology thing is that it's being applied by another adult that's not your parent or your guardian, which is really bad optically, right? There's just no way another adult should be hitting a child. I mean, adults shouldn't hit a child, period. But in this,
right.
Let's agree, in that time period, that was not uncommon at all.
Right.
See, my parents never spanked us.
Really?
Never.
See?
Yeah.
And I don't remember if L. Ron Hubbard mentioned spanking. I thought he did somewhere, but I could be wrong. This could have just been the concoction of some sort of malicious adult somewhere along the line that just enjoyed beating children, possibly.
Yeah, I think I did see something where he said that, but
right.
He never applied it, and my parents never applied it.
Because Laura talked about it happening at in ranch, which surprised me. Because I don't remember it happening when I was there, but I was only there for about 2 years. So a lot of time passed after I left, and I guess they changed a lot of things. But, imagine them spanking a 6, 7, 8-year-old person is just kind of, it's hard to believe. I believe her, but it's hard to believe that they would have enacted such a brutal method of punishing children. But that being said, I did know. So no, really not a lot at all. I did not like being spanked. It happened pretty rarely because I fought back. Even if I was outweighed by 150 pounds, I would jump out a window on a first floor building to get away from that. And I was a pretty fast runner and I could jump fences pretty quickly. So I think I was maybe spanked once or twice by an adult. And my dad and mom maybe spanked me 2 or 3 times, but that's it my entire life. There was never a, you're not in exchange. You need to do more dishes to help out. And there was nothing like that. I really think when my parents had time to spend with me, they just wanted to have a good time. So we would rent a movie from a video rental store. My dad used to love getting the Stouffer's French pizza that you could reheat in the oven, and we would watch a movie together. Or my mom would hit pop flies so I could shag fly balls on the streets during family time. So I guess I'm lucky in that way. I really am. Foster, both you guys know he's kind of this goofy fun guy. So I was lucky.
When you say your mom, are you talking about Barbara or Biddy?
So if I'm speaking about raising me, I'm always speaking about Barbara because I did grow up with Barbara. Yeah.
Right.
Biddy and I reconnected or got back together and had a mother-son relationship when I was about 21, 22 years old. And even that was sporadic because she was always traveling and I was 21, 22. You don't have this sort of raising you relationship anymore. Everyone obviously knows how I feel about my mom nowadays. Yes.
Hey, Mark, we're having fun here.
Yeah, I know. You guys are just rolling on. I'm trying to ask a question, and you guys just keep going.
I don't look at the window sometimes, so I don't even see
this. I go like this, and Janis is just keep rolling, and so Sterling. It's okay. I don't have much to do, but I wanted to ask a question.
Oh, please go ahead. Please knock yourself out.
No, what you're saying is really interesting, and I didn't mean to interrupt, but I wanted to do it on the opposite flow for Janis because she's a parent of 2 kids. So Janis, did you spank your kids or how did you discipline your kids? How did you apply Scientology? So explain what you did with your children.
Well, at first I would make them. I did timeouts with them. That always worked. And Erin, actually being the youngest, would see John getting timeouts. And then when she got her first timeout, she was so proud of herself because she finally got a timeout.
So good.
But there were times where I made them sit down and do TRs, just sit there and look at each other. You know, oh, they hated that. Okay, we're done. We're friends.
That is so good. That is so
But,
good. I mean, yeah. Yeah. It's
So
it
you
would be
didn't
interesting
apply.
'cause there's got
Hold on, I wanted to follow up on that.
Yeah,
So
go
you
for it,
didn't
go for
apply any Scientology, Janice, to your kids at all.
Well, we did with, you know, basic stuff like communication, and then we tried to get them to do the Scientology books of learning how to learn and study and the dictionary, and we'd do contact assists and touch assists. And just so people know, a contact assist is when you hurt yourself, as long as it's not a burning fireplace or something, where you hurt yourself, you put it back and you do like a reach and withdraw until the pain goes away. And then a touch assist is where with your finger, you touch them in different parts. You can do the whole body or just the injured area and say, feel my finger. And they go, yes. And you go, thank you. And you feel my finger. And that's to help put the attention on that area for, again, the pain to go away or for it to heal better.
Janice,
we did do that.
Janice, did you and Paul make a conscious decision after leaving Scientology in the Sea Org that we were not going to do Scientology or push anything that we learned or our parents did to us on your children? Was that a conscious decision?
No.
Or was it just sort of like, I'm not doing this anymore?
No, well, when we first left, we considered ourselves blowing, but we considered ourselves still Scientologists. So when I gave birth to John, I wanted silence. You know, I didn't want any noise or anything like that. And I was mentioned in another video where there I am, and I can hear the midwife eating potato chips. The room was so quiet, and I found that very annoying. But yeah, so when we first left, we were still Scientologists, dedicated. And then as the years went by and we kind of saw how the outside world operated and worked, and there were still things we still did, but we moved more and more away from it as our onion peeled.
Okay, great.
And see, I got some peelings on.
Yeah, you guys go ahead, carry on. I wanted to ask that question. So.
No,
okay.
Mark, I don't mind at all. I tell this to everyone I do. If you just I understand because we are not looking at each other's faces constantly. There's no way for me to pick up the social cue of you have something you're ready to say. So if you just cut me off, that's not offensive to me. Anyone in the chat, that's totally fine because I start going on a roll sometimes.
What Janice and I used to, we just stick a finger up and that just tells the person, so the other person has a question.
Well, here's the thing. I don't always look at your windows.
You don't look at the thing. I understand.
Yeah. So I until you started having an epileptic fit over there, I didn't, I was like, is he sinking? Is he falling? Is he okay?
Well, Sterling, let's just continue. And when Mark has his epileptic fits, then we'll pay attention to him.
So I find it okay. So it looks to me, it looks like and Mark, actually, we need to ask you this question too, because your parents were Scientologists.
Yeah. My father was. Yeah.
Reese had a particularly vindictive father who probably was just a POS in general, and then that allowed him to use the tools of Scientology to be even more vicious. I'm gonna guess, and I never met your mom, but what my mom has said about your mother, Janis, and anyone that's met her, she is a fantastic person. So I think Scientology in the hands of a person like that, even though they applied Scientology to you as a child, and in some cases you could argue that wasn't appropriate or applicable, it doesn't seem like it was something that was shoved down your throat by any means. Tell me if you think that's an authentic or real statement.
Well, the growing up in Australia part, it was never shoved down our throat, but it was just part of our life.
Right.
And we just, it's like my mom would talk about past lives.
Okay.
And so I grew up believing in past lives, and I go to kindergarten and it's show and tell, and I'm telling everyone how my mom sailed to Australia on Captain Cook's ship in the 1700s. you know.
Oops. Okay.
You know, and as I've said, the teacher couldn't get me off the stage fast enough and sends me home with a note. Your child, Janis, has an amazing imagination. But to my mom, that was not my imagination. That was her past life.
Right. Right.
And to me, that was normal.
Right. Okay.
You know, and then when I go to St. Hill, you know, I'm 10 years old. I just turned 10, and everyone there's talking about spaceships and leaving the body at nighttime and going to visit the moon or different planets, or a spaceship landed over here, so I left my body in bed and I went and visited the spaceship. And this is all normal stuff that I grew up hearing.
Right. Right. And it sounds really strange to anyone listening to this right now, but that would be the standard thing in Scientology. Now, of course, there are practices today that talk about past lives and reincarnation all over the place. Scientology just happens to have this pseudo-scientific method of verifying those, apparently. So yeah, so even, you know, funny enough, Foster never spoke about past lives. Barbara, being someone as an auditor, did speak about past lives. Never about hers, though. Never about hers. Just that it was a possibility.
You know, and I want to comment about past lives. It's like, it's not something that we really even talked about when I was in the Sea Org. You know what I mean? It's just like, that was somebody's personal session or personal information. You know what I mean? So like, I know a lot of public people would say, oh, I was this person in this life or this person in that life. And I always thought they were just trying to make themselves, you know, feel important or whatever. But it wasn't something that we discussed. You know what I mean?
Well, what's funny about it, that I noticed, is that everyone seemed to have been someone who was famous. And I would think,
that's right.
Well, who was ever who were the people that weren't known? You know, who was ever a beggar on the street or a
who was the janitor? Yeah,
exactly. Everyone was Queen Elizabeth or Henry.
Not that there's anything wrong with being a janitor, but yeah, you know, everybody was like Napoleon or somebody.
Yeah,
you know?
Genghis Khan. I mean, I knew two people that thought they were Jesus in the last lifetime.
I knew some too.
It's like, wait, it's got to be one person. It can't be all you.
We had a Jesus on the ship who used to put his fingers in the electrical outlets for a recharge.
Oh my goodness.
He didn't last long.
No, probably not. No, probably not. No, the stories that people came up with, I mean, it was, you know, and every once in a while you did have that person that was in the proximity of children that would tell stories like that all the time. There was a nanny that in the Cadet Estates organization in LA that used to always talk about her past lives. Whenever we were doing trash pickup, she would tell stories of past lives. And, you know, as a kid, I was like, okay, it's an interesting story. I'll listen to it. But some of the people she said she was, I was like, really? You might not want to say that out loud, but, you know, it was just something you grew up with in Scientology. It's
well, yeah. Hubbard talked of past lives, and he actually used to say he was Cecil Rhodes.
Really?
And yes, and he even did a whole photo shoot dressed up like Cecil Rhodes was dressed. And then Kimmer pointed out to him that Cecil Rhodes was known to be gay. He never brought it up again. And those photos were never used for any sort of campaign.
Yeah. And by the way, you just reminded me of a subject we have to talk about some other time. And let's note this down for our next live, because you're two perfect people to talk about this with. Taking a beating while in the Sea Org and tolerance levels for that. Because Mark, when you told your story, it was pretty clear that when Dave went off on you, you had a very short leash on how far you were willing to be treated or mistreated, and you were out. Janis, you clearly didn't take shit most of your life while there. And I would have to say that I was the same way about that. I was like, you know, no, this is not happening anymore. It's something I would love to delve into with you guys. Not today, obviously.
Okay.
Absolutely. Right. No, and I loved your mother's viewpoint on it too, Biddy's. Yeah. You know what I mean? She never saw it. And when she did, she called him out on it. And that's what should have happened. But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. And she wishes she had done more. She wishes she had done more. She said that. She really did wish she had done more. But it is interesting. I'm wondering if this is a hereditary thing, if you pick it up from family member to family member, if this is a learned thing. but it's sort of strange that at least in my particular family, obviously Jenna, she was there the longest, but she also didn't take a lot of shit while she was there. Nathan as well had a short fuse. I had a short fuse. Justin was the first one to leave. He was like, I'm done with this, but he had his other reasons. No one really mistreated Justin. He was just so like, you know what, I'm not doing that. He wanted to do his other things from day one. He didn't want to be there.
Right.
And he kind of stuck to his guns. But yeah, something to definitely talk about sometime with you guys. I would love to talk about that.
Okay.
Back to Scientology kids. Mark.
Yeah.
Your turn. What was it like growing up? Like,
for me, my dad got involved when I was 13 years old, 14 years old, and he read Dianetics. He was retired Navy, and my dad was always searching for the answers to life, you know. And I did a video on our channel. I'm not going to rehash it here, but about my dad and his search for that, right? But he got involved, and about a year into it, he thought, you know, this may really help you, Mark. And so I went in. I was a totally different teenager. I was shy. I couldn't talk to girls. I had all sorts of just problems, you know, just being myself. And I went in, and he paid for my first auditing session, and I got processing, and I got hooked right away. I mean, I literally resolved something in that first session, and I was feeling like on top of the world, and I felt like I want more of this. And so then I also did the communications course, and like you said, Sterling, there's things in Scientology that do work. You know, particularly some of the entry-level stuff Hubbard got from other places and put together himself. But the communications course really helped me to communicate. I couldn't do a show like this if I hadn't done that course, right. You know. And so that's what got me involved in it. And then my dad went up to the OT, you know, the old OT levels, and then he left in 1979 after about 6 years. He was a mission holder because he went into some other cult and shut down the Scientology mission he had. And so they all went there, and they all got declared, and I had to disconnect from them. So it was really a wild situation. By that time, I was in the Sea Org. By that time, I was in the Sea Org.
Your dad was a Navy, you said.
Yeah.
So out of curiosity, was he the strict father, or was he the more loving, nurturing father that would talk to you and listen to you with your problems? Or could you talk to him about your troubles in high school and grade school and that sort of thing?
He was middle between those two. Okay. You know, he was Navy disciplinarian, but not mean in any way, shape, or form. But also he didn't really pay a lot of attention to us. And our family, to be honest with you, really wasn't a I love you, huggy, touchy feeling family. That's just the way both of my parents were raised, and that's how they raised us. But they did expect excellence from us, you know what I mean? And the way they punished us, you know, my dad would give me a spanking if I was bad when I was a little kid, right? But really, what really kept us in line was that they would, my dad particularly would say, I'm really disappointed in you. You know, you didn't want to disappoint your parents. Yeah. And so if I did something wrong, that hurt way worse than any other punishment they could give. I'm disappointed in what happened, you know, what you did. And then I felt like I was letting them down, and that really hurt.
Right. And of course, when you first do Scientology, you got a person that's sitting there listening to you, acknowledging what you're saying, and just being a safe point for you. And sometimes, guys, as we all know, parents can't be the safest point for you. You tend to be afraid to tell your parents stuff from time to time. So I'm imagining that had a pretty big effect on you right off the bat. And again, it does. I got Scientology processing as a kid, and I want to arguably say it helped me out. I had a temper issue. So I think it did help out. But, you know, again, I didn't. The good thing is
I did too. Yeah. Sterling, I did too. Yeah. That was one of the things that we addressed, is that so things would really upset me to the point where I would just go crazy and throw a tantrum for no reason. And I felt like I was out of control. And then I got that fixed through the processing I got as a teenager. Anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, no. I get that. That makes sense. So you joined when you were 15. You said you. Yeah,
no, I graduated high school. High school, 17. But the other thing I wanted to mention too, my dad, when he was in the Navy, he was an officer, and from the time I can remember, Okay. So he was like a rock star to me. Do you know what I mean?
All
Like
right.
he when we went on the naval base or on any ship, it was yes, sir. And whatever we wanted. And we went to go get a hamburger. Everything was, it was like carte blanche,
Yeah.
And so I wanted to join the Navy. That's how much of a rock star my dad was to me until we got involved in Scientology. And then I met Greg Wilhare, and that's a whole nother story. And I wanted to be a Sea Org member. So anyway.
And you joined the fake Navy.
Yeah, I joined the fake Navy.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I thought I was going to the ship, and I ended up in Clearwater.
No, yeah. I mean, I always joke about that. It's like, man, we really got screwed on this whole deal. We signed a $1 billion contract to be in the Sea Organization and did not spend much time on a boat at all. Not you,
No.
Janis. You don't count.
8 years. I did
Yeah.
8 years on the Apollo. And you know what? I had not left.
Go. Sorry.
I had not left that ship in 5 years.
Oh.
I'd gone on Liberty and so forth, but I was there for 5 years. That was before I went to America to visit my parents on a leave of absence.
Right. Right.
So, yeah.
And we do all this training in the beginning to learn about ships and everything. And then I get shipped up to the ranch, which is in the middle of the desert in California, the furthest you can be from the ocean, essentially.
Sterling, I feel sorry for you because we left right around the time that you kids all went up to the ranch. We didn't call it the ranch. We called it, it was Happy Valley. Okay.
Yeah.
And it was a S-hole. Okay. I mean, literally people that were sent out there for the rehabilitation project force, or people that were security risks that Scientology security wanted to keep under wraps, So I felt sorry for you when I heard that that's where the kids ranch was going to be. Then I saw pictures of it years later and I went, wow, they really fixed the place up. You know what I mean? And it had all this irrigation and fields and all that. I went, that's not the place that I remember.
Oh, it was pretty nice, at least coming from, Hollywood area of Los Angeles. It was a gem, not when we first got there, but after we built it a little bit, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But,
hey, I have a question. When you were in the cadet org, did they have the chit system?
They did have the chit system. Again, it's one of the things I disagree with AA Ron tremendously, and I always give him a hard time about it, is I hated people that wrote chits all the time, and I did not write them. I could maybe count on both hands the amount of chits or KRs I wrote my entire life. But they did. I don't remember it being so significant, but I do remember having quite a bit because, again, I would argue with all the adults when I was a child. And so they didn't hesitate to write me up for sure. Dan Probelski actually wanted to kick me out of the ranch several times, unbeknownst to me. But I've talked about that before. So yeah, they did have the chit system. Yeah. I didn't know about it until I got into the Sea Org and the ranch. Yeah.
Well, we had it. My dad one day, when we were in England, my mom was in the Sea Org. My dad one day comes home from St. Hill and he says, we're going to put in a new system. It's called the chit system. And he put up little envelopes on the wall with each of our names on it and some little pieces of paper and a pen. And if we had a complaint about the other person, we had to write a chit. And so when he would come home, he would then look over our chits. And all that did was we would get into a chit war. We would chit each other for anything you could think of.
I can imagine. Oh my God. Oh, that's so bad.
Yeah, Terry made me give her a piggyback ride, Peter hit Terry for making me give her a piggyback ride. And it was just
and in the long run, that's actually hilarious because if you still had those, pulling those up at a family Thanksgiving would be just the best thing ever.
Oh yeah, if I only had them.
I know, right? You'd be like, do you remember the time? No, we were old school, like at least Justin. I didn't fight with Nathan because he was too young. Justin and I, one time he knocked me off the bed and took my Nintendo NES controller and started playing Super Mario Brothers by himself. And then I waited for the right moment. I jumped back up and I punched him in the face. And then he tackled me and then I ran out the door and I didn't come back for 2 hours. So no, it was a normal brother relationship of well-planned attacks and, battles, but no, we never wrote each other up for anything.
And your parents never asked you, what did you do to pull that in?
Never.
I'm just showing the comment I put up there. Chit means KR ? Yes, it's a knowledge report. Basically, you're reporting on each other. That's what a chit is in Scientology. I think that's an English or British word. I'm not sure.
It might be, yeah. Like you got a chit,
Yeah.
Anyway, carry on.
Yeah, no, never. It's so funny. Never. Now, mind you, we were raised by different sets of parents, so it is interesting to see, you know, who would have enforced that sort of thing. But I still find it fascinating. I see your story, Janis, is you did have Scientology kind of pushed at you, but not in a vindictive way. I think your parents maybe saw it as a helpful tool to help raise you, rather than, I think Reese's father was, let me use whatever I can to make her feel guilty for whatever.
Yes.
Which is good to hear, though. And I'm going to talk to some other people about this too that I think would be interesting. But I'm glad to hear that that wasn't the case. But it kind of shines through with your personality too. So, you know, had you been, I think, just shoved down your throat, I think you may have been less likely to be as combative and bullheaded as you were in the end, which is why you're here and we're talking today.
Probably. But you know, that made me remember when we were at St. Hill, my brother and sister were always smarter than me. At least that's what I always thought. And when I had to read aloud, I always stumbled. And, you know, so my dad would be sitting me down trying to figure out what word I didn't understand. And this became a thing where he was always trying to help me with it, because then I would do courses at St. Hill, the children's Dianetic course or communications course for kids. And I would still have this stumbling problem. And I'm like, there is no word I don't understand, but I don't know what it was. I just always stumbled, and I still do when I read. And that's why I make Mark read these comments from people because I'm always in fear of stumbling.
Which by the way, the chat is blowing up with chitty chitty bang bang. Chit happens.
Chit happens. That's so good.
Chit ahead. Yeah.
But then my dad got this squirrel system, which to help your child read better. And it wasn't a Scientology system. And he was working with me to read it. And I'm even thinking, if they find out at St. Hill that he's teaching me to read without stumbling using the system, he's going to get in trouble. So, you know, because I knew that squirrle.
That was funny, Sterling. I had to put that up.
Oh, sorry, Janis. I wrote dipshit.
Dipshit.
Right here, look.
Oh, dipshit.
No, that's wild that your dad had the audacity to try to bring in other technology. It's funny they don't even acknowledge that some people just might have an issue with that, just like a stutter or reading out loud. I mean, can you imagine? Anyways, it's
yeah. Oh, I hated having to.
I have a question.
Yeah, go for it.
I have a question. This is parenting related, okay? And it may be controversial, but I don't know. Is how did you find out about the birds and the bees in the Sea Org or in Scientology as children?
Is that for Janis or for me?
For both, and for all three of us, because my parents never talked about it with me. I had I had to learn from friends. How about you guys?
My parents weren't around. I mean, you know, from the age of 12 to 17, I might have seen my mom 4 times and my dad not at all for 5 years. So I would just hear things around the ship of, you know, oh, there's 2 people that went into a cabin together. You know, what are they doing? Or, you know, they're making out in the aft lounge.
Why is there a clock on the door? That's my dormitory.
No, at one point I actually had a message run and I went and knocked on the door and it was clipped and I unclipped it and there's 2 women in a bed together. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah.
So
the shock.
Yeah.
No, again, one of the reasons why I tend to, unfortunately, as everyone knows, Barbara is disconnected from me, did cut my photos out of the family album. She's vicious with a pair of scissors, but she was really good about that. So when I got to the age where I was wondering what was happening with the birds and the bees, she would sit me down and talk to me about it and answer all my questions very, very directly and appropriately. So
that's good.
Never with my dad. No, for some reason.
That's good. That's good that somebody did it, because nobody ever did it. I think my parents were from the generation where you didn't talk about that at all.
Okay.
You didn't talk about it at all. But I found out haphazardly talking to, other friends of mine in the Boy Scouts, which funny enough, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just, I had no idea. Anyway.
Well, I remember when I was 11 and we were on the ship, and my mom had come back on the Avon River, and my sister and I had been working for the chief steward, doing dishes and having to clean cabins and stuff, being little slaves. And the chief steward was trying to hit on my sister, who was 13 years old. And my sister thankfully told my mom when she showed up. And the next thing you know, this chief steward was off the ship. Mom told the Commodore, and the Commodore had him sent out of there. He didn't do anything with her. It's just he was hitting on her, and it made it very uncomfortable for her. So,
Sterling, here he is.
There he is.
I froze. Sorry. I froze. You guys didn't notice. I was trying to raise my. I was going like this in the background, but I was.
No, nothing. It wasn't moving.
Yeah. I did a quick exit, and I'm back.
Well, you just missed my story.
Oh,
you'll have to
Which
No, it was just where the chief steward was hitting on my sister at 13, and my sister mentions it to my mom, and mom happened to be on the Avon River as the Commodore's steward, so she tells the Commodore, and that chief steward was out of there
in a moment. Wow.
Yes.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but the guy, he didn't do anything, but he was trying to corner her.
Yeah. Inappropriate.
Sterling, we're at 46 minutes. Should we go to questions now? It's just, because you want to be
and I do think we need to continue this discussion, by the way, because an hour is never enough. We got 3 people in here.
Oh, I love talking. Look at get 3 ex-Scientologists together. You can talk. We can talk for hours. Okay.
Yeah.
And make each other laugh.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll go to questions now, and ask us questions about what we talked about. If you would please write the word question in the chat. It makes it easier for us to start. I've already started some here, and we'll go over it. In the meantime, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do so. It's Our Scientology Stories, Peeling the Onion. And please subscribe to Sterling's channel too. We appreciate the support. We're going to continue to put out good content, just so you know. This is the type of stuff that we want to do. We want to tell the historical stories about Scientology. We want to interview people that were around Scientology and in the Sea Org and left. We want to talk about the abuses. We want to talk about miscavige and about disconnection and all of that stuff. And that's what we're going to focus on. Yes, Janis.
We're actually started a series about the free winds. We put one out yesterday with Scott Campbell on the free winds. And we're doing another interview with him on Monday, and then another one on Wednesday. So you'll be hearing some great free wind stories for those that are interested.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what we're planning on doing, and we're going to continue to do that. So anyway, just wanted to make that. But please subscribe. And then, Janis, you want everybody to do what?
Rock slam the like button.
Yes, rock slam those likes. We really appreciate that. Okay, I'm just going to start popping up these things just here. We've got Jay Warren's a member of our channel for 4 months. Thank you very much, Jay. Hey, everyone, that bacon-wrapped turkey looked amazing. Well done, Janis.
Thank you.
It looked good. It looked good.
Better than your mother's.
Yeah, and I did not tell her I was going live this morning, so hopefully she does not search the tube for this. But yes, it looked better than my mother's. Though that being said, I was the one who cut the turkey and I butchered it.
Really?
Oh my God. Oh yeah, it was horrible. It was a shit show. But there we go. I tried.
My son took over from his dad. I mean, his dad was a perfectionist. He did a great job on it. The turkey was perfectly sliced on the plate. And
no, mine was shredded. It was basically pulled turkey. And I think my mom wrote a chit on me for not slicing it correctly. So,
she should have.
And then we got this question from me and Taz. Very serious question. Had everyone recovered from turkey coma? I had leftovers last night. They were fantastic. I don't know about the rest of you.
Yeah, I had leftovers too.
So did I for lunch yesterday. It was so good.
Fantastic. Thanks, me and Taz. Okay, we've got a super chat here from Metalhead. Thank you so much, Metalhead. That's very generous. Mark, why in the We Stand Tall video, everyone was dressed in an ugly sweater? Was it the 90s or were that the only clothes that you guys had? Well, just to give everybody reference here, I put this photograph up in our thankful video here, and that's me under the arrow there, right there. And I am in the We Stand Tall video, and you can see me, and I stand tall,
because you actually
much
stand
taller
tall
than everybody else.
But and just to clarify, not
yeah.
everyone's sweater looks pretty nice. Dave Miscavige is wearing
Oh,
the ugly sweater.
Right. Well, Mitch
Yes.
Brisker calls it the ugly sweater video. But yeah, no, to answer your question, Metalhead, yeah, that we were told where it's holiday season, wear like a sweater and a shirt or something like that, not your uniform, right? So that's how come everybody wore that, and we're all wearing our own sweaters. And then here comes Miscavige marching in, standing on an apple box, and you know what that is, Sterling, right? An apple box.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, so it's a box to make him look taller in this Hermès. It's an Hermès sweater that he got in Paris, and he looks like, something from the 80s, and that's when it was shot.
He looks like a foot soldier in the Gambino mob, but a really low foot soldier.
But literally, if he wasn't on that apple box, he'd be about 4 inches shorter there. Okay. Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, that's me in the back though. And this literally was probably about 5 to 6 months before I finally left for good. But anyway, that's why. But that's why we had to wear those sweaters. And I just wanted to share this because the question that was asked. So thanks, Metalhead. We appreciate that.
And I never met you there, Mark, right? We never bumped into each other.
No, you were a teen, like 12, 13 years old. I think we left in 1990. I didn't. Yeah. I saw you, and you won't remember this. Shortly after you were born in the lemon tree, you and Justin would be eating at the table with Foster and Biddy,
really?
And you were babies throwing food. That's what I remember.
That sounds about right. I don't remember it, but that sounds accurate.
Okay, great. Next question here. Zachary Ante question. Is there anything Scientology does practice business-wise that could be reverse engineered for a positive or helpful use? Yeah, many things could be. I mean, many of them come from business and other philosophies, right, Sterling?
Yes, but I would argue that reverse engineering Scientology would be a waste of time because you can just find the source material. And right now there's such a large amount of information on YouTube and a bookstore on managing companies that don't even go down that hole, would be my answer to that. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Thank you very much. And we've got a super sticker from Lisa Trimble, just because. Hey, thank you very much, Lisa. We appreciate that. And next one here is from Georgia Burke, another super chat. Thank you. Hi, Sterling. Is your mom married to Ronnie Jr.?
No. So to be clear, my biological mom, Biddy, is no longer married to Ronnie Jr. She was. And so she's no longer married to him. Yeah.
Right. And she's the mother, of course, of Jenna.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well,
okay.
And they divorced a long time ago.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Anon A, thank you so much for the super chat. It was in the Child Dianetics book, I think.
Spankings.
That must have been something, the spankings. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much for that. Next, Amber Vanessa. My mom always put on Elrich lectures on when it was time to go to sleep, so I would have to listen to him while I was sleeping. That could put you to sleep, and then also that could be like an implant station.
Yeah, she'd fall asleep from her misunderstood words.
That's what I'm saying. It could put you right to bed.
That's actually brilliant. I mean, why spend so much money on sleeping pills? Seriously, go to a bookstore, get some Elrich lectures. That'll knock you out. That being said, I used to listen to Ted Ziegenbush, Love Songs on the Coast, and that would put me to sleep every night. So.
That's cool. Hey, Sterling, after we left, did they continue having weekly L. Ron Hubbard tape plays after renovations when everybody was spent from working?
Yes.
Yeah.
After making us in the sun all day long, sweating, dehydrated, and then take us in and put us in an unair-conditioned room and try to listen to the dribble that was L. Ron Hubbard, staying awake was the hardest thing in the world.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
I used to try and come up with excuses to not have to go because I'd be so tired and I knew that I'd be falling asleep.
Mhm.
And I knew people that were so good at keeping their heads straight up and not, I was like, how do you do that? But we also had a buddy system. So if we saw someone else before the master at arms or the ethics officer came in, we do a little pinch on the back of the arm just to make sure they were still awake. But then there were some people writing KRs on every person that was sleeping.
I'm
They were the
sure
worst.
they were chit warring.
They were doing it.
Chit
Horrible.
happens. Dip chits.
Yeah.
That's right.
All right, Veronica Bombria. Question, Janice, I want your turkey recipe. What did you stuff it with?
Oh, I just put apples and onions on the inside and then the bacon on the top. I kind of weave the bacon and that's it.
Yeah, and you cooked the stuffing outside of the turkey, right?
Yeah, the regular stuffing is outside the turkey, but I put apples and onions inside it.
Right. Yeah, because some people say that, don't cook the stuffing inside, because the germs from the turkey can get in there. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not a cook, so I can't really comment. All right, here's the next one here. I already asked that one. Sorry. Here we go. Free Xeno Project of Farsic. Janis, is Scientology still banned in Melbourne, Australia?
No. Wow, I think it was in 68 or 70, around then. 68, I know my dad went back down there for the Guardian's office and did a whole mission to try and get the ban lifted. And I actually have newspaper clippings from that. And next time we have Steve Canan on the show, we will go into the whole ban and what it was like living through it, and my dad going down there and trying to fix the ban. But it wasn't just in Melbourne. It later got banned in South Australia, where Adelaide is, and in Western Australia. So they had to do several missions trying to get that fixed.
Okay, great. Next question, or this is a comment from Amber Vanessa. They would line the PAC cadets up to get spankings. Is that what you remember, Sterling? Or yes, Sterling?
I hated lines, so I don't particularly remember that. I avoided them. I don't remember ever a line. I don't doubt, though. I do not doubt at all what she's saying. But I don't remember lines. I just remember being sent to a certain office, and then they would shut the door, and then that's where that would happen. That being said, Amber, I really would like to know who you are. So if you don't mind reaching out to me on my email, on my channel, you can find it on there. I would love to talk to you about that sometime.
Okay. Thanks very much, Amber. Next question from Free Xeno Project of Farsic. Question, the touch assists sound very strange and offensive to me. I'm curious what you felt like when you first was introduced to it. I don't like to get touched by people I don't know very well. My first touch assist was, again, when I got sick, and my actual auditor, I was a teenager then, they gave me a touch assist, and I don't know, the whole idea was to get you in communication with your body. So basically your eyes are closed, so you would feel the person touching you from one side to the next side, one side to the next side. And it was never sexual in any way. They never touched your private parts or anything like that. And it was basically to put your attention on your feet when you're stuck in your head with your cold. I mean, I don't know. What was your experiences like, Janis and Sterling?
Janis, you go first.
Well, I mean, I grew up with it. So to me, it was quite normal that, you get a touch assist when you hurt yourself, if it wasn't something you could do a contact with. And it actually, I always felt it good. I didn't have any objection to it, or, it kind of felt nice just to relax and, okay, feeling the finger over on my elbow and then the other elbow on the fingers. And you'd actually get little tingles in the fingertips or the toe tips when they do each finger or toe.
Right.
My point of view on it is I think it's a placebo, but I think it worked because it was a placebo. I think the concept of you knowing that it's going to bring your attention points to certain spots of your body, then closing your eyes and feeling those spots, your mind is now directed towards the touch each time. So if you had something painful, you almost completely forget about it.
Well, and it's a concept of massage too. Just so, I mean, Eastern culture and all that, they have massage, and it's basically to get you in communication with your body and to get your energy flowing through your body. And that's kind of a similar type principle. Like that. It's just not as intrusive as a massage where they're actually kneading your muscles and moving. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, then get an actual massage, and you're like, okay.
Right. Oh, I feel much better
Yeah.
after a
Oh my
massage.
God. Yeah. Like I
Absolutely.
play so many sports. I get a massage every 2 weeks, and the
Yeah.
legs stretched and the muscles in the back, stuff that you just can't really do on your own. And I mean, I don't know how we survived before that. I really don't.
Yeah.
Well, we never
Absolutely.
had massages, but like that. But the nervous cyst always felt good because that
Yeah.
kind of, it was like a light massage.
The nervous system
Right.
was the one thing I enjoyed, because it was like you would, I remember we'd be so tight from the work we were doing and the stress, like as we know now, your muscles and everything in your body can just lock up. So when they were doing the nervous system, even though it wasn't a massage, you could feel the muscles and the nerve just unlock, you know what I mean? And that felt fantastic. So
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, thanks for that question. And we've got another question here from Kendall Links. How do Scientology parents deal with habitual bedwetters or nail biters? I have no idea. Do you, Janice?
I don't know. No,
Yeah.
there's, I never, I don't know.
Apparently none of us were bedwetters or nail biters, so that's a good sign.
Yeah, I don't think it really ever came up, but we weren't. I wasn't a parent in the Sea Org, so I actually don't know. But
Yeah.
anyway, that is a good question. But I just
my dad used to say, and Paul, I think it was B complex and calm, magnesium deficiency.
Okay. Thank you, Kendra Links. We've got a comment or a question here. Pause for Andrea. At Sterling Tompkins, could you please do an interview with Catherine Spolino, author of The Bad Cadet?
I would actually love to do that. I know the Spolinos. I remember her mom and her dad. I think they were a little bit younger than me, but I would love. I've watched her interviews with Aaron and other people, and she's so well spoken and polite and intelligent. So I would love to get a chance to do that. Love to. Hopefully, she sees the video. Yep.
Absolutely. You don't have any contact, so yeah. If
I don't. I'm sure I could reach out and I'll try.
Oh yeah. That's cool. Okie doke. That's all the questions that are started. I just went through the chat to see if there was anything else. We appreciate everybody watching. It's been just over an hour. And have Janice or Sterling, have you got any other comments you want to make about the subject we were just talking about?
Yeah, we need to come back and keep going and let Mark, have his epileptic fits.
Yeah. No, we definitely do. We can keep, because again, I think it's a fascinating thing that I never even considered as a possibility, how we were raised in the comparisons between different groups and different echelons. So it's a great conversation. Again, I always like talking to you guys, and I'm going to plug for you for a second here. I've said this on many of my interviews. I tend to always want to lift up other people's channels. If you want to hear about David Miscavige, if you want to hear about L. Ron Hubbard, the two people sitting above me on this screen are the ones that spent the most time with him. And to me, when I hear your guys' stories and what you're talking about, that is so much important information and led so much credit to that subject when we talk about it. And that's why I love your channel. It's the history. It's the things that help me understand my upbringing, where I came from, where my parents came from. And it's invaluable to me. So if you are not already subscribed, please subscribe to Peeling the Onion.
Absolutely. That's very nice of you to say that, Sterling. And we want to thank you as well for your mother. You're the one who lined up your mother to come on our channel, and we did several interviews with her, and she's an old friend of ours. But your mother also is a wealth of information, and we try to interview people like that who have been under the radar or have been out and haven't felt safe speaking out, and we are trying to provide a safe forum for people to do that. And so I appreciate you saying that, Sterling.
We should get my mom on for all of us at some point. That'd actually be kind of fun.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, it was fun talking to her out of the Sea Org, because you know how it is, Sterling, when you're in the Sea Org, you're talking to somebody's position as well as the person. And so you're really not knowing the person as well as you are the position that they're in the organization. And I didn't realize your mother was so funny. She's very funny, and she's delightful to talk to, because we only interacted as positions. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, I made a lot of friends doing renos, and that was the time I found that you could get to know a person better because you tell stories and talk about growing up and family and stuff, like doing renovations.
Yeah.
That's right.
And one last, I got a comment on this because your book's in here, Janice. I got a comment the other day, which I thought was kind of funny, that I had rearranged my books in order, like that someone had seen the order of my books and said, "Oh, I can see which side you're on based on that," which I thought was kind of
this
creepy.
book here?
Yeah, but hilarious. But so if you pop back to full screen, I just want to show you, these are, I had thrown these up before, just thrown them up. I've now positioned them aesthetically and how I like it. But these are my favorite books in order. So I have Leah, I have my sister's book, then I have Janice's book. Okay.
Yeah.
Then I have Blown for Good and Amy Scobie's book, and hopefully Mitch's new book.
So wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. You're telling me you liked Leah's and Jenna's before you liked mine?
How is this not fair? I can't win.
All right, I'm taking this up with you off screen.
Of course, you made the top 3. How could you be upset at me? Right. I did love Leah's book. I have my reasons for that, but I also love your book right here.
I have 2, not 1.
Well, I can't fit them all on there. I picked the one that's got you on the side walking. That's you right there.
Okay. You're not going to get out of this.
I'm just getting in trouble. I should have just shut up and let this thing end.
It's okay. We've enjoyed this, Sterling. And trust me, it's really your schedule. Anytime you want to do this with us, we're open to it. Like I said, we're concentrating more on doing videos. Right. Yes, that's football, but that'll be over soon enough, But no, we're doing videos, as opposed to lives. But when we do lives, we like to have interaction with people that are fun like you. So anyway,
thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate that.
Also, if anybody has any questions, please ask in the comment section on both of our chats. I check our questions, and so does Janice. I'm sure Sterling does too. So if you have any comments or questions, please do so. Anything else anybody wants to say before we end off?
Have a wonderful Saturday, everybody. I hope you get your
have a wonderful weekend.
Yeah.
Anyway, until next time, everybody. Bye-bye and have a great day.
Later.